The coronavirus pandemic, 31st of March 2020. How are we doing? Some political leaders are saying we have already beat this thing. Some media outlets are saying there's much more to go. Some people saying 8 months, 9 months, 2 years, 3 weeks will be finished. What's the answer? Now, I'm not going to give my opinion and I'm not going to give a definite date. I'm going to look at the worldwide data we have and explain a few things about graphs that will enable you to keep looking at the data and have an idea for yourself. Now, one caveat before I start, the data we're going to look at is incomplete. Now, you may have heard this already, but actually the number of cases is a function of the amount of testing as well as the amount of new cases. And there's other variabilities as well. So we don't have perfect testing, so we don't have perfect data, but let's look at what we do have. So I'm going to bring up worldometer.info/coronavirus. We're currently counting the number of coronavirus cases and deaths. They're using a number of sources from a number of different countries. And so their worldwide count of coronavirus cases is almost 786,000, deaths almost 38,000. This is huge. Now, let's look at these graphs. So total cases in the world, we can see this is an exponential curve. Now, I remember looking at this site all the way back here, and although this looks like a flat line, at that time, that was an exponential curve too. And this is how exponential curves work. They just get steeper and steeper and steeper and steeper as time goes on, because the number of total cases, or the number of daily cases, increases day upon day upon day. And that's the same as true as deaths. So this doesn't look good. We have not broken the back of this thing. We are on an exponential curve. Now, mind you, this is worldwide. Now, I'm going to flick to the logarithmic scale because this is really useful to use, and you're going to be able to tell when looking at this site and other sites. If you flick on the logarithmic scale, you're going to be able to tell earlier, or it's going to be more obvious by the graph when we've come off the exponential curve. And I really think that's the start of when we beat this thing. Now, to explain this, I've made an exponential curve in Excel. It's just x squared, and all you can see is that with every increment of x, every increment of time, the y-axis increases more. So we get the exponential curve. But if I do a log scale, we get a straight line. Now, if we come off this exponential curve, it's going to be easier to see on this log scale because any dip here will indicate we are off that exponential curve. Now, let's look at a few countries to demonstrate this. We know South Korea is doing very well. They have survived pandemics in the past, and they've been better prepared and took quick actions on this. So the linear scale looks like this, and you can see it looks like even from the linear scale they've come off the exponential curve. Now the line is still rising, but don't forget this is cumulative amount of cases. So that's not telling us that the day-on-day case number is rising. In fact, it looks like it's fairly constant. Now if we look at the logarithmic scale, it's even more obvious. They were on a straight line here, that's their exponential. But they came off their exponential around here. So they could tell even as early as February 24th, March 4th, even during this period, by the logarithmic scale, you can tell that you're starting to beat this thing. Now, this isn't the same for the other countries, but we're hoping to see this really soon. And I've been watching Australia closely, as that's where I'm living at the moment. And yes, Australia has a lot less cases and deaths than other countries, but the thing is with exponential growth is this could increase in a few days, and that's why it's really important to see this indicator early. Now I've been watching it, and the total cases you can see that looks like a steep curve, and you could say, well, that's an exponential curve. But look, when we click logarithmic, we see just back about a week ago we're starting to come off that flat line. So I think this is really encouraging, and you can see this more in the daily cases. Now yesterday and the day before weren't great, but before that we've had almost a week of decreasing amount of new cases per day, and this is especially encouraging considering the amount of tests is most likely increasing day on day. So I'm going to leave you to play with this website and look at the country you're living in and figure out how well they're doing. So thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to do another short video soon.